Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Fate Grand Order. I am one of your hosts, the Crawling Chaos Omega. With me as always is my co-host. He comes from beyond the outer gates, it's Lucky.
Everyone, I hope you're enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka a little bit uncomfortable. And while we here at Studio Omega like to bring you the latest in FGO related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events about the JP and EM version of the game, so anyone not wanting spoilers should repent!
Man, I should not have leaned into my mic, I'm super loud there. Hey, hi guys, we're doing it. And yes, especially on the spoiler thing, because I don't know if we're going to talk about all of Salem today or not, because we're both done with it. And it's not that long. It feels longer than it is, but it's not that long.
It's a bit of talkiness.
Yeah, once you get into that back half after 3 days or whatever, it goes by really fast. That's one thing we'll talk about, that huge contrast between, oh hey, here's 7 pips, and then, oh hey, here's 1 pip, no battles. I'm like, wow, this has really changed. So yeah, I know some people aren't done with it yet, but I don't know if I can contain my thoughts for a whole week.
Nah.
Especially considering we'll probably have to be talking about the new Christmas coming out then, too. But we'll talk more about the news in a second. But yes, now we've been going for about a minute-ish. It's good to remind everybody this episode is brought to you by patrons like Ahega Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Den, Nestor Flores, Sodasan 0424, and Video Gamer 75. And if you like what we do and want to see us do more, you should consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it would really help us out.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for supporting everybody.
Come on. There we go.
It is. You got it.
Sorry, I had... sometimes it's hard to get my finger underneath it.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, let's just keep the train rolling. Let's check in with everybody's favorite Kohai.
Senpai, 起きてください.
That's right, everybody. It's time for Wake the Fuck Up Senpai, our regular segment for pro tips. So this is a pro tip from the audience, as somebody found out doing Salem, because remember, Salem only rewards casters. So here's a fun tip for you. Death resistance isn't affected by class. So if you have a servant who inflicts instant death, the target class doesn't matter. It's just whatever their passive death resistance is. This can be helpful if you're having problems defeating certain enemies in Salem with just casters if you have Nidacris lying around, but it's maybe good to know for future challenges as well. I don't know how much people stuck to the all-caster run solution. I did through most of it, but when there were certain extra class fights, I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do the thing.
For my end, I stuck with, I usually kept a couple casters in there at all times, but I was usually switching out with probably mostly alter egos. There was a lot of cavalry class in this singularity.
It's pretty built for it, plus the special foreigner resistance at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about bosses and stuff later when we talk about Salem thoughts.
Yeah!
It's in notes, it's right there. It just says Salem thoughts. It's in brackets. It's great.
Nothing has been written. We are going hot takes.
Oh, well, I mean, I literally finished it like a couple of hours ago because I had to sleep last night because I had to do ROM twice, but once again, I'll talk about that more later. Really quick, let's just burn through Records from the Throne, our regular achievement topic. I managed to, with the tail end of the extra success and all the AP stuff last week, I managed to protect Da Vinci's Smile.
Ta-da!
Which was very appropriate for stuff with Salem.
Lucky's not that fabulous. He just got Caesar done. I think I'm back down to 61 servants. Or 60.
That's good. And, hey, who knows? We'll get some more stuff. We got a couple EXPs in the advent calendar.
Yeah.
Got some foes. Started off strong with some tickets.
Mm-hmm.
The advent calendar is fun. I look forward every night to see what they're going to pop out.
Ta-da!
I know somebody was like, oh, we only got 4 EXPs, but you can buy 5 of as many mana prisms that they got. And I'm like, it's still not a lot of mana prisms. I assume they're building up to more overall. Get a little quartz here, get a little tickets there. Yeah, well, we don't have any other... Oh, actually, I forgot to write this down. I forgot to include the new Did You Do the Master Missions? But I can just read off a list. Normally I put it in the notes.
Oh,
honestly, this one's still pretty simple. Heck, it wouldn't have mattered, because I don't think that Grand Order Wiki has even updated it, so I'd have to pull them up. Let me see. If you're still open on my phone, hold on a second, audience. Lucky, vamp.
Lucky is now vamping. So... I got finished, Omega's talking about how he only got done with, Salem, only a couple hours. I finished it last night, actually. It was actually funny. I was actually playing Monster Hunter with a few of the community, and and basically because like Monster Hunter on the PS4 has such long loading times, I could literally like usually do a fight while in there. But as soon as we hit like the final cutscenes, I'm like, guys, I can't fight right now. I have to finish this. I am in the zone.
Yeah, the ending of Salem goes by pretty quick. The app is not open, so audience, I will have to come back to you with what the master missions are, because they're apparently not recorded easily. But we'll get there. Yeah, well, we can burn through the news really quick. So
super fast.
This was just announced today. We're gonna get Caldea Broadcasting Station U.S. branch number 6 on the 12th of December, and they're doing a social media campaign for 3 Saint Courts, which it's only like 20,000, so it should be pretty fast. And apparently there's going to be, was it Rumi Okubo? There's going to be a little video from them.
Yeah. Voice actress of Liz and Alstofo.
And also, this was, I think it's mostly been forgotten by now because Salem actually dropped, but the real stunner over the weekend was that FGO Arcade got a Christmas, and their welfare is Santa Helena.
No, I'm not really so mad that FGO Arcade is getting exclusive servants. I'm more upset that I don't get a Santa Helena.
Yeah, anyway, we'll see.
She's adorable.
They reworked DaVinci Small to bring her to core, but yeah. I don't know. Like, I mean, the other thing is in whatchamacallit, in Arcade. Oh, my volume's up. Hold on. You may have heard my title screen for a second there. In Arcade, Santa Helena is yet another AoE writer, so I gotta be honest, I'm not really that hurting for her as a unit, but it is a little bit like, I don't know, it's weird. Especially considering that Arcade is apparently a real money grab machine. You get like, what is it, like 300 AP for 300 yen, and it's 100 AP a quest, not counting you pay money for rolls as well. Like, it is a literal arcade machine you are feeding it quarters or yen coins to keep going.
Excuse me.
So, that's kind of like, We'll see what they do in mainline. It's interesting, though, that they are truly branching out to be their own thing. I said, I really wish they'd make they'd have to come up with a system for it, but I really wish they'd make a console port or something. You have any other thoughts about Arcade?
I guess my thought is most likely, I don't, like, what I most likely see them doing is next Christmas, probably if they have another, come out with a new SSR and just add her to that banner so they can actually have a full banner of one SSR, one SR, and they could both be new-ish. That's what I see them doing, most likely.
Alright, so Master Missions this week are do 30 friend point summons. I gotta go do that real quick.
Friend point summon?
Well, I still don't have any Hozuin, and I still have a shitload of FP. And then it's defeat 15 riders, defeat 15 casters. I don't know if I'm going to defeat 15 riders unless they're some of the Salem free quests. Defeat 15 casters, defeat 30 enemies, excluding bosses, defeat 15 demonic enemies, and defeat 15 assassins. So, play Salem. That's the short version. Play Salem. Do I still have 999 friend summons? I probably do. I spent a lot of FP on Hozuin and no luck. Oh, also, I didn't put it in All the World's Evil because it was only like 3 tickets, but I had like 18 tickets or something, and I threw them at the first banner and got fuck all except my first copy of Divine Construct.
That's not All the World's Evil, but after getting to know Kirky and not Queen of Sheba, and Nezha a bit more, I threw it down for them. I threw like 11 tickets and 30 quartz. I didn't get them.
It's been very hit or miss, it seems, on the banner with the audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, well, we might as well just get into Salem thoughts now.
Yeah.
If you're not done with Salem and don't want to talk about it, you probably should leave now. Or just go finish it. It's all available. Come back later.
Push pause, beat the game. Beat the singularity, push play. So, my first thoughts about Salem, like, overall, is I never really thought how well the fucking Salem witch trials and Lovecraftian horror could go together. Which probably someone else thought well too, is why we have it. But yeah, because like the Salem witch trials, as it's a little bit of infamous American history. Basically, I think it was like a year. It was almost a year of countless accusations against witchcraft and a lot of court dates. If I remember the numbers right, it was about over 200 people accused, and I believe 19 were hanged. One was killed by torture, and I think 4 died in prison. I think those were the numbers.
Yes. But by the way, the one who died of torture is one of American history's greatest quotes. That's the guy who was pressed. Yep. They were trying to press him to confess, which is they put a board on you and they put stones on it. Reportedly, the last thing he said was more weight. Because they're putting more and more stones to get him to confess, and he was just like, more weight. So yeah, I think it's the only real outbreak of witch hysteria in the U.S.
Yeah. And Alex brought up a point. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to mention that. When people think of the Salem witch trials, they think, people getting accused and killed left and right. Considering there's still a fair amount of people died, but it wasn't the, everyone's fucking dying.
Way more people died in our version of Salem.
Yeah.
But also other things. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. What people are actually probably more thinking of is actually not the other aspect of Salem. I can never remember his name, and that's good because he doesn't deserve to be remembered. I'm just calling the Witchfinder General.
That guy.
That guy in, let's see, I think he only operated for like a few years.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. I actually learned this while learning about him. That guy Hopkins.
Yeah.
He started Witchfinder Generaling about 25. He died 2 years later of tuberculosis, the consumption, at 27. Yeah. So in about a year and a half before he retired, he accomplished all of his witchfindery.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, he killed over 300 people, which was more than, like, all of the previous One Touches had in, like, the past, like, century or something.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal, and the reason why I did that is because he was a complete and utter con man. As he said, I can't remember the Witchfinder General, which is a 1968, I want to say movie featuring Vincent Price as the Witchfinder General.
Yes, that's what his appearance in Salem is clearly drawn from.
Yeah. But actually did have a couple of these things, like the fucking swimming test. Where he would throw people over rivers, and if you sank, clearly you are not a witch, but if you floated, that means that the water is rejecting you, and you are a witch.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. That's where a lot of the bullshit witch tests are, which is basically, listen, if you're not a witch, it's okay. You'll go with God's grace, but you'll be dead. But if you survive, then clearly you have unhealthy powers, so we will hang you.
Oh yeah, like...
It's where a lot of the witch bullshittery comes from.
Yeah. Like, if you had, like, a third nipple or a weird mole, they would call that the witch's mark. If apparently witches weren't able to, like, bleed or feel pain. So, here's one of the things the Witchfinder did. He used, like, these things called picking, these pickers, who were women who would literally, prick people to see if they felt pain or bled. Except they were fucking, those blades that, those pricks would, like, withdraw into the blade and stuff. And so, he would use, like, dull knives and try to cut people with them. It's like, he was a con. He was a big con. But again, he wasn't, like, he didn't go, like, through this without, people opposing him. It's just by the time they could actually do anything about it, he'd already retired and then died.
Yeah. He keeled over and died almost immediately after he stopped. Funnily enough. But yeah, so I what I want to say this about Salem is that up front, especially considering I have some opinions about some of Salem, I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression that I, like, hate Salem or anything. And actually, even in our community, we've discussed this a little back and forth. It's actually why I'm super interested to hear what you've got to say, Lucky, because I haven't been talking to you about this constantly. Because you don't hang out in Spoiler Channel.
Nope.
But, especially at first, a lot of people, myself included, are very, very positive to Salem, because I think it does a couple of things right off the bat really well. It sets its tone very well, and it maintains that pretty decently throughout the whole, which is one of the things I think it does actually maintain very well. And the second is that, compared to America's writing, E pluribus unum, Oh man, Salem is way more historically accurate and on point,
Oh yeah.
which is saying something, and that, especially from us, that was a critique we very much had about the E Pluribus Unum chapter, which was just like, I'm sorry, that's not how America works. This was a lot better researched, and for instance, they even brought in the fact that the people of Salem would still be British, because this is the 1600s. It's not until 1776 that we declared our independence.
Yep.
So this is still in that period, and there's a lot of that stuff, but also it's not in that period, which is the weird thing.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie. I feel like a lot of the higher. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the high level concept might have gone over my head. Like I'm not.
So one of our community members actually said something which I think represents how I feel about Salem very well. Salem is well written but poorly plotted. Now let me explain for the audience. The writing of Salem on a technical level is good. The tone is set very well. It has some interesting themes which it brings up. The character writing is great. But the mechanical function of the narrative to move the people around to do the thing is very clunky at times. There's a lot of... what's the best way to say this? There's not a lot of show don't tell. There's a lot of people just telling you shit in Salem. And not coming out through the text, you know? And we've talked about that with Babylonia, for instance, the anime, that it is harder to do that for a visual novel style story, you know, where it's all text. But you can do a little, and just, there's a lot of clunky stuff that goes on, especially in the middle part, the Act 2, the longest and you know, most meandering section, where it's just like, did it matter that we did all this stuff, you know? And, like, even when I get to the end flows much faster. And it does have its genuine moments, and we'll probably tackle them in kind of sequential order, like we usually do. But at the end, it ultimately comes out where I'm like, all right, that's nice and all. Some of those were really interesting. Some of those details you introduced earlier didn't come back at all. Like, why were they there? Like, I remember some of the community being kind of confused by the time acceleration effect. And I remember, like, Rom actually explains it where it's like, oh, that's part of the thing. I was doing this trial, and there's some actually clever wordplay there, you know, trial as in a test, and then trial as in, like, a judicial trial.
Yeah, he was basically reiterating upon the same events, trying to get the outer god to descend.
Yeah, he was trying to get the thing that was fiction to become reality, in a sense. He was trying to find the version that worked.
Yeah.
But at the same time, did it truly matter to us, the audience, that time in Salem was starting to tick forward? Because some of those days went by lickety-split anyway. They just like, it's the morning. Today we're going to do something about the thing. Oh no, we learned nothing new about the thing. Now we must put on a play and punch ghouls. Oh no, the day is over. Tomorrow we will work on the thing. And it repeats for like 3 or 4 days in the middle there until you actually get towards like day 6 or 7, then stuff starts happening again. And
Well, if you cut all that out, you'd have a real short singularity.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is, I feel like Salem was probably a little rushed to production, because obviously Shimosa was only a couple months ago, I guess? Yeah, because technically we didn't get Salem until December, actually, so it was a couple months before. Salem's very wordy. Not Salem's very wordy. Shimosa's really, really wordy. Salem has some wordy parts. I feel like maybe they didn't give Salem the time it needed in, like, the editing room, because they had to get it out and get it done before the end of the year.
I do find it weird, because Shimosa is kind of the prequel to, the Lost Belts and whatnot. Yet, here we are with Salem, and it kind of feels like Salem's been tacked on at the end. He's like, oh, we need to fill some space.
Yeah, Salem tries to be the big conclusion. Oh, this is our final ray shift, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they do, like I said, they do some good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the character motivations were a little opaque to me, but that's actually, somebody actually posted a very funny image where they put Sanson's face on the Sailor Moon meme. My job here is done, but you didn't do anything. That is a little bit how I feel it is.
Well, like, here's the thing. I do, like, speaking of cast, like, I do find, like, there is a sense of, poeticism with bringing both Sanson and Matahari to the singularity.
Yeah.
Sanson being someone who was an executioner, and Matahari is someone who was executed, who got executed again.
Yes.
You know, so...
And they... So this is the fun thing. We're gonna talk about. I'll talk about the plays briefly. The plays are actually really interesting. The problem is that they are literally a distraction. They are literally there to be some shiny keys and be like, don't pay attention to the fact that nothing's happening in Salem right now. We're telling you an interesting story. And I'm like, okay, cool. Those are really good to the backstory of certain characters. And the Jean one was just funny. But, like, the fact that they did one for Queen of Sheba, they did one for Kirki, they did one for Matahari. Not really a play, but you know what I mean. They stuck a lot of flashbacks and
It was
really
part of her
stupid fights
trial.
that didn't need to exist.
Yeah.
Why did we have to fight Shadow Caligula? I don't know. It's FGO. Why do I punch wyverns? Because that's how it works. But the actual story parts are really interesting and helpful. And I like that they actually brought those characters in. But once again, when it comes to the plot, what those characters do is such... I feel kind of bad for Kirki because I really like her. She's very interesting. Her animations and lines are great. I feel like the narrative deals her a bad hand because I feel like the only thing Kirki does until, like, maybe the very, very end of the story when you're just like, fuck it, you know? When you have that fuck it adjustment moment, is she just stands there and tells you all the things you can't do.
Well, that's, like, to be fair, that's like a lot of the characters. Like, look at Queen of Sheba.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Poor Queen of Sheba, she's really smart and she's like, I know the future, but I can't tell you because then it'd fuck it up and it's like, okay, I guess. Why did we make it this way?
Like, literally, my favorite scene with King of Sheba is when it's her and Matahari talking at the camp. And they literally just, like ears, they just have, like, ear twitching, and Matahari's like, that's so cute! I'm like, high five, Matahari.
Yeah, like I said, we get those new characters explored very well. I like them a lot. Yeah. But I feel like I said, like, the narrative doesn't necessarily help them because there's so much negative agency in Salem, at least the middle portion.
Yeah.
Like here, I'll describe to the audience a series of events that I think is indicative. Like, there's a lot of situations where the game feels like it's very melodramatic. It has to, like, interrupt you or stop you from actually moving the plot forward because it has what TV tropes calls, you can't thwart stage one. So no matter what we do, we can't stop the big thing from happening at the end because that would fuck up the whole plot, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty typical. But the way that Salem avoids this while still extending the length of it, like, I know you said it was kind of short. I think Salem would actually been more interesting if it was actually, like, a story a day. Like, if they actually paced it out like they do with events. So you could only do so many chapters a day, and they had maybe made those a little more compact. Like, not necessarily dragged out that middle section. That could have been more interesting and like, actually built up some dramatic tension.
You mean like if they had done it like Prison Tower?
Yes, actually. That's even a better example, because Prison Tower is basically a story event.
Yeah.
Where, like, every day is a thing, and then you do a challenge, and maybe they don't feel the need to be like, punch ghouls, I guess, again.
Yeah, because I was thinking about Prison Tower is literally like you have exposition at the beginning, you have exposition at the end, you have a fight in the middle, you do this for 7 days in a row. At the end, you have a conclusion.
And when you get to the trial of Abigail, that's kind of what it sounds like the point was, because there's a lot of the sevens. There's 7 days, 7 knots, 7 sins, etc. Like... But at the same time,
7 guests.
7 guests, yeah. That scene felt really weird because I was like, okay, I get what he's going for, like leveling all these accusations, but this is also a really weird twist because that doesn't seem like Abigail's character at all.
No.
Salem honestly does too good of a job building up Abigail and making you care about her, and then you're like, at the end, you're like, oh shit, no, Abigail. Oh, it's terrible. But also, it's kind of out of place, and I'm like,
I'm like, Abby, I know something fucked up has just happened to you, but I'm not sure what's going on here. Can I just, like, slap you better and we can go home?
Yeah, it's basically like, okay, so she's channeling the thing. We just have to fight her until she runs out of energy and calm her down. That's good. But it's just, that's what we said, you know, it's like, you said some of the stuff went over your head. I don't know if it went over my head per se, but there were definitely some points where I'm like, I see where you're going with this, but also I don't think it lands because you're also doing other stuff other places, you know?
Oh, I guess that's what they get for trying to, like, mix, like, to, like, the Lovecraftian. Because here's the thing, like, Lovecraftian things, from what I best understand, is, like, it's like, Outer Gods, like, they don't usually make the appearance. It's always the build up to get them there is, you know, always the drive, the descent to madness of knowing things you're not supposed to know.
Right. And if something big happens, it's like it happens in the climax, where you're like, oh shit, Abby is suddenly the vector for the Outer God Yog-Sothoth. That actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, honestly, I did enjoy, like, I'm gonna say this, I did enjoy the kind of build-up to that, but there's I definitely want to say there's a lot of stumbling going on.
Yeah, the game wants to build tension for that final moment, and it does that.
Yeah.
But also it has to stretch that tension out a lot, and it, like I said, it does this through this cheap melodrama I was alluding to earlier. Like, so there's, I think it's section 3 or 4. It's leading up to Matahari's trial. You wake up, some people are gone, like Mash went out with Abigail, so we're like, okay, let's talk about Chaldea. We can contact them again finally. Only we can't really, so we have a very half-assed exposition because everybody's like writing down. It's like, okay, we learned nothing from that exposition other than we need to keep on what we're keeping on, basically. And then it's like, oh, we need to tell Mash about all this. Where is she? Oh, she went out shopping with Abigail. So before we decide on what we're doing next, we leave the Carter house to go find Mash. We go to the market with Matahari. We find Abigail. Abigail's like, oh, Mash isn't here. And we're like, okay, well, we need to go find her. Matahari starts to get harassed by some guys. You know, we need to bring Me Too to Salem. But then Robin bursts in and he's like, oh shit, Master, it's terrible. I've completely lost track of Mash. We have to leave to go find her immediately. And you're like, okay, but Matahari seems like she'll be fine. Let's go. We smash cut to the forest. We don't find Mash. We don't find Mash at all. She's not there. We find a couple of clues that are kind of relevant later, but not immediately relevant. And then we're like, okay, we gotta go back and tell everybody about it. We go back. Before we can expound on the clues and maybe get the ball rolling in the investigation, somebody bursts in. It's like, oh, it's terrible. They've arrested Matahari. And then, etc. There's a lot of moments like this where just the story doesn't... Like I said, the story is written so you can't stop Abigail's fall, basically. I think the whole point is to, like, make her despair and fall into nihilism so she can actually contact the outer god, I think?
Yeah, well, like that's something that like they do explain. It's like there has to be a sacrifice if it's like because
right, there has to be a sacrifice, and also a lot of what Rom's themes are is it has to be willing. You can't he can't force them to do it. He has to create a situation in Salem that causes Abigail to do the thing. And if there was only one version of Salem, because like I said, I don't necessarily know right. Like it makes sense for Rom being weird and trying this, and it being. There's that one scene where he's basically cussed out by one of the other pillars. Actually, it's Zapar, funnily enough, which was actually really interesting, because Zapar was the pillar from Seraph, from the CCC collab. Which is also another funny thing, because you talked about how Shimosa was kind of the prototype for a Lost Belt. Shimosa is not mentioned at all in Salem, but all the other demon pillars in Epic of Remnants and other events, like I think the one from the second Gouda Gouda and from Seraph get mentioned in this. I think they're the pillars that were managed to break off post Gatia. Yeah, the ones that escaped. So like they get a reference, which is neat. But you know, like they do have that scene where Zapar kind of chews out Rom for being like, dude, your plan's fucking crazy. You're gonna use you're gonna like invest in people's belief in fiction until it becomes real and you can contact a thing outside humanity. And Rom's like, yee.
Well, to be fair, fucking Shez did it, so...
Well, yeah, no, like, I think he does a decent... well, honestly, somebody did a really good comparison. With the exception of Zepar's plan, because that got immediately derailed, all three of the other demon pillars from EORs try a similar thing, where they try and use fiction to cause an influence. Like, in Shinjuku, they use these urban legends, these phantom spirits, to create a setting where they can kill you. It's a murder mystery plot, and you're gonna be the victim, and it's done by creating situations you can't possibly expect because it uses weird combinations. In Agartha, was it Phoenix? Yeah, it's Phoenix, because Phoenix. Phoenix's plan when he contracts with Shez is to use fiction and fairy tales to basically build a fake world where you won't notice something is going on and won't interfere, so that it can empower the ritual to do the thing and have fiction kill something real and thus destroy the throne. Yeah. You know, what is fictional is real and thus it no longer exists. And then in Salem, I believe the best way to summarize his Rom's point is he's going to use the fictional basis of the Cthulhu mythos, which might have a grain of truth, to create a situation where something fictional contacts something that is outside our world, And that is how he will return to his goal, because Rom actually still wants to save humanity. His plan is just to get something completely inhuman to do it. Like,
yeah, I do like how they explained.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I do like how they explained outer gods as, like our gods, as we know, is something that requires humanity to like function. They need their faith. Now, if there was a being of that power that did not require humanity, how powerful would it be, and how alien it would be to us? I'm like, yeah, I can actually wrap my head around that.
Yeah, that's a very good cosmic horror kind of explanation. Like, that's straight out of Lovecraft. Like, how would these entities be if they truly were alien? They're not from us. So, and I think that's what Rom's going for, is he's like, I want to contact one of these things and save humanity, because that's the only way, because nothing that humanity does will save humanity. So it's interesting, but like I said, I'm not sure why we had to go the double take, because the idea was to take Abigail, she's not herself. Like, she uses the name and some of the aspects, but Abigail Williams would really be probably a pretty weak phantom spirit normally. She's just a footnote in history, basically.
For those not to know, Abigail Williams is one of the 3 initial accusers in the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, so she kickstarted it.
Yeah.
But then she immediately disappears from history. It's like, after they get through the initial wave of accusations, we don't even know when she died. Yeah. There's some records that indicate it was a few years later when she was only 17, but it's like, we don't know. She's a little bit famous because she's a major character in The Crucible, but that's also fiction, so.
Yep.
So Rom is like, I'm gonna like take a person who was a minor note in history, and because they don't have a role, I'm gonna fiction them up, and the idea is basically to send her spiraling into despair so that she willingly calls the outer god, because Salem is really fucked up.
It is.
But then once she calls her quote-unquote father, her motivation gets really weird. Like, I guess it's, humanity is all in guilt and stuff, and thus I need to give them pain as punishment. I'm like, I guess that's alien, but also that is still human. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Rom was already dead at that point, so maybe it was just after he stopped controlling it, his plan got fucked up.
Yeah, like I just chalk that up to fucking Abby's Puritan beliefs.
Yeah, honestly. I guess it was in the end. Rom's plan was doomed because there was still a human element to it, I guess. And it gives you a couple of good liners, because you get, for like 5 seconds, you get to angst, and then you're like, nah, I'm fine.
Oh, Abigail, you're so willful, but I'm even more willful.
Also, that's in quotes, so you're clearly using the teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so overall, like I said, Salem, I like it a lot. The ending in the beginning is very good. I think it's a solid number 3 as far as the EORs go, because not that we thought Agartha was the worst, but that one really did have some rough writing, where it was like, that also felt a little rushed, where it was like, man, you could have explored some of these themes a little better. Like, honestly, I understood the plot of Agartha way easier. It's just, we didn't find about the plot until the literal last second, after we'd already done all the stuff, and it's just like, man, I wish you could have like explored that more, because that's a really neat idea. Killing the Throne of Heroes.
That's just Shez using, Storyteller EX.
But yeah, like, God, the middle sections of Salem are so frustrating because, so I'll say this, one of the reasons I think why it bothered me is because I'm a fan of this kind of genre fiction. I've actually done some story times on the channel. I've read out some of Lovecraft's works, the shorter ones. The thing is, with a lot of classic Lovecraft stories, those are usually written from the point of view of a narrator who is a character in the story who is telling you this horrible tale. And at the end, he commits suicide or is eaten by a horrible monster or falls into madness or whatever. And Salem tries to get that kind of depressing, hopeless, there's no point in it, humans are just... And there truly is no point in it, because when you get to the climax, you're like, oh shit, everybody was already ghouls. Well, great.
Mm-hmm.
You have to basically sit there as a non-narrator, as a third-person observer character, and do nothing about it until the plot actually kicks off. And then once it kicks off, that's good. And I kind of get that the point was, like, Rom never said this outright, but I kind of get that the point was for you to bond with Abigail and for her to use, so that when you were threatened as the players, as the guest, like, that would keep her going, because that's the thing that, like, triggers her first transformation, is when Sanson gets executed. But it's still, like, that's really annoying as a player of the game to be like, man, it's really pointless for me to be here. Like, honestly, I think it would have been a little bit more interesting if Salem was phrased as, we arrive and it's already in the third act, as it were, you know, when it's like, you can't tell whether it's day or night, everybody is just ghouls, there are basically no humans left except maybe, like, Abby and Mr. Carter and the Witchfinder. And so you're trying to figure out what happened, what the plan is, and you would read these stories of the trials and everything spiraling out of control as, like, somebody's scrawled note or journals, because Lovecraft is full of apocalyptic notes and journals. I'm committing suicide tonight, I must write down my story, kind of stuff. And so that would still convey the whole, oh, you already can't stop this, it's already happened aspect, without you physically not being able to do anything because it's already happened. I don't know. That would have leaned more on the Lovecraftian themes, but like you said earlier, that would have sacrificed maybe some of the prosecution-y kind of themes, because Salem also kind of does a little bit of the courtroom drama kangaroo court kind of thing, which if you weren't there, you couldn't do anything about, but also you can't do anything about it anyway because it's kangaroo court. Did Lucky ghost on me? No, ghost Lucky prison. Yeah, we're back. So, shoot, what was I thinking about? I don't know. I was just talking about how the courtroom scenes are kind of an interesting point, but they're also, like I said, kind of pointless because nothing changes. It's just, you know, kind of dragging some stuff out. And
I honestly think the second act was mostly, like, personally, was to just kind of make you feel real uncomfortable with everything's going on around you.
Yeah, I guess. That's the thing, right? It just...
Yeah.
I felt frustrated in that middle act, and you could say that's kind of the point, but also, I think it also sacrificed something for the fact that FGO is still formatted as FGO, you know?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, because, like, here's the thing. Like, I'm gonna tell, like, I'm not, like... I like Lovecraftian concepts, I really do, but unfortunately I'm not a big Lovecraft nerd. I only know lore and, like, bits and pieces. Like, I haven't actually, like, sat down and actually read, like, a full Lovecraft story. I've tried a couple, like, movies, but I've yet to seen a good Lovecraft movie, or game, for that matter. So, my understanding of those things are kind of sparse, I want to say, but, yeah, as I said, like, I feel like, I want to give them, like, a gold star for effort. I really do, because it's definitely not the worst they could have done. And as I said, like, overall, once I got done, I was all like, whew! You know, I pat myself on the back, you know, job well done. You know, I, once again, saved the world. This is, like, what, my 5th time?
And very directly, too, because Salem was modern, question mark? It's a little weird,
yes.
But yes, it was, technically you were race shifting to a place that was on the physical present Earth.
Yeah, because that was the only way you can get through that bounded field.
Yeah. Yes, it was a bounded field. The stupidity field, which I just completely facepalmed at that. I'm like, ugh. That's one of those things that reads like a cheap writer's cop-out, like, just don't think about it too hard. Everybody here's literally dumber. Like, I feel like they could have... The plays were a metaphor, right? Obviously. You know, everybody's playing their parts. I feel like they could have made that a little bit more direct, but at the same time, I feel like it may have been the writer's goal to actually address some of the minor characters we don't get to see a lot of, like Matahari and like Sanson.
Yeah.
So making them out of character, as unfortunately that's a problem FGO has with certain characters, that, like, they'll do something to make servants that appear in the story act completely different, and that sets up people's opinions of them. See Tristan. Excuse me.
Yep.
Like, and several other characters have that problem. Where it's just like, man, those characters are real assholes. Oh, they're not really. It's just how the story treats them. Yeah. So I think Salem wanted to avoid that pitfall, but it could have, like you said, gold star for effort. The technical writing of Salem is very good. It just probably could have used another editing pass, basically, which it didn't have time for because EORs need to end this year.
Yeah, as I said, like, I think I would have, I don't, like, honestly, like, I don't know, like, how to rank it. Like, I just want to, like, because I don't want to, like, because I would have to say probably Shinjuku's still my favorite, followed by Shimosha, and then, Salem and Agartha are tied for 3rd. There is no 4th. 4th is all, like, meh, because, like, as I said, I like parts of Salem. I like the themes, I like the characters, you know, the ending was interesting.
Yeah, they got some emotional beats in there. I was actually, at first, I was a little disappointed in how Lavinia was treated. So I'm glad they actually came back to her.
Yeah, I kind of wish that Lavinia was explored a bit more in her family. I feel like that's one of those that's one of the beats they definitely missed, is they kind of skipped over like her family and what their whole deal was.
Yeah, she's an important character, but they don't. Yeah, I don't know if that was the point that it was trying to make, is that because it mentions later that they're fictional. I don't know if the assumption was like you would know which famous fictional character they are because they're not really that famous.
Yeah, because here's the other thing: for such a book nerd, Mashes, she didn't like pick up on those beats at all.
I think that was supposed to be part of the cognitive interference. Is just
yeah. That's what I'm thinking, like post, but still, just like
Yeah, it's, especially like I said, it feels like a little weak. Like Mash, I feel like you should recognize some of this stuff. And she does kind of, but I still feel like it's weird that even once we clear the interference, we're in Sheba's camp, she's not like, oh yeah, that Lavinia. Like I'm like, so Dr. Roman never mentioned H.P. Lovecraft to you? Like you've never heard of this stuff?
Yeah,
it's another one of those points. I do appreciate that they totally reintroduced Mash as a major character to this. Like she actually came with us. That was a really good element.
And a good new sprite. Narrator Mash is best.
Yes, that's pretty good. But no, I think you're right that like Lavinia was clearly an important supporting character, but she got sketched out at points because it was natural for her to be cagey and avoid people. And also she spent a lot of her time talking to Sanson, which was a problem because Sanson spent a lot of time not talking to us.
Yeah, like I said, like in the beginning, I really like Sanson's character because, again, this is the executioner who has gone to a place where a lot of people are about to be executed. I'm like, Sanson, let's lay down on the couch, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna go lay down on this couch. I'm gonna go lay down on this couch over here, not with you guys. Yes, he's
basically like, no, I can't hang out with you guys. I have to explore this guy's character too much, and then it does nothing basically. Honestly, I didn't even feel that excited when, like, on the one hand, I'm glad that Lavinia actually did something and shanked that guy, but it's just, that was just such a non-ending for him, considering how much trouble he caused us.
Yeah. I'm like, excuse you, Witchfinder General.
He should have at least turned into a giant ghost we had to punch or something. Come on, FGO. You made me fight wyverns for no goddamn reason. An enemy can't even turn into a giant ghost I can beat up.
Didn't you have a complaint about someone turning into a giant ghost at some point?
Maybe.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
It's a very cheap FGO cop out, but it's kind of funny that they don't even do that in there. It's just, oh, Lavinia just stabbed him and he died. Like, and she does have some plot moments. Like she comes in with the powder of Ibn Ghazi, which there are a lot of little touches to the Cthulhu mythos and stuff in there. The Book of Ibon, Silver Key. There's a lot of fun touches for people who know, little references.
Yeah, I said, like, I think this is probably one of the reasons why I say it goes over my head, is like, I don't know all these little references and little touches. It's like, the only reason I knew who Randolph Carter was is because you fucking literally have told me, and I was like, oh,
yes, he is, by the way, in case you don't know, that's especially if you study his sprite art, that's basically H.P. Lovecraft's self-insert character. He's a character from the Dream Cycle, and he's got a lot of similarities in personality and backstory to Lovecraft himself, and his sprite actually looks like pictures we have of him, so I'm pretty sure that's when he becomes the cosmic traveling gentleman at the end. That's kind of his thing. Though I gotta be honest, especially since somebody posted an edit of that, but I can't help but reading that just be reminded of Doctor Who. That whole ending sequence where he's like, Abigail, would you like to go on space-time adventures with me and fight stuff? And she's like, yeah, cool. I'm like, when they vanish in a flash of light, I just want to superimpose the TARDIS noise over it. Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, just that's all I could think of when that happened, because he's the cop, But yeah, what I said earlier about Lavinia, it was, at first I was kind of sad because, like, not sad in like a deep emotional way, but sad in the like, oh, you didn't do all you could with that way. At first it's like Rom turns into a bird and pecks her, I guess, and she just falls over, and you're like, well, that was fast. But
yeah, the raven-headed guy was pretty creepy. I'm like, whoa, FGO.
No, Rom was good. Like, yeah. I do feel a little bad that he puts us in fucking prison and monologues at us. Like, woo, that's a real tropey. But that could also be part of his thing because he was creating a fictional universe, focused on superstition and hearsay. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, overall, Salem, it's not the worst. And I kind of agree with you. I don't know if I could say necessarily which was better, like in retrospect, without having to like read through it all again, which I felt better or worse about Agartha, because they do different things better and worse, honestly.
Like, honestly, I would say the Agartha ending is better because, with Fergus Lily and all of him, like...
Yes, that's a very much more dramatic conclusion. The ending of Salem is like, well, I guess Abigail's evil, but not. Let's just hit her until she stops. Did she calm down now? Okay, cool. Let's have let's do our emotional farewell. Our couple of endings.
the big dramatic scene was the penultimate of Salem when you're in the courtroom, and there's the trial going on. But
you have nothing to say but just how ridiculous it is because literally everybody is ghouls.
Yeah, that was the height of the of the thing. But and after that, once Abigail has actually descended, it kind of meh.
Yeah, it's the climax. Now the fights are interesting. I'll give them that. The not guts but rewinding time mechanic, where she resets. Yeah. That's actually interesting, and we can talk a little bit about the mechanics of Salem too.
I heard you mention this. You had to fight Rom twice. So did I.
Yeah. Kids. Demon Pillars with 3 pips is a thing. My comp setup was not good for that. I had to reorganize it, and I couldn't use seals because I used seals on the Kirkyu fight because that's also another thing.
Yeah, I had originally went in, just with cash and stuff, and I thought it was gonna be okay. No, he'll still knock you down. So I said, I was like, all right, you want to play this game? I busted out my stall arts team, which still had 2 casters in it, but now they won't die ever.
Yeah, I had to cycle mine so that I had Merlin in the back row earlier. I'm like, longevity. That doesn't work with Rom because he'll start hitting you with the buff cancel, and it's like, ooh, that's bad. So I put Merlin up front so he could start to NP and buff faster the team, and then I still had mostly casters because he's an assassin. I used support Shiba because I think they want you to, and it's a decent show for her skill set. But ultimately, a lot of fights came down to back row Mechaliz solving problems.
Honestly, if there's something I really do like about this thing, you can say story wise, Queen of Sheba and Kirky didn't really do much, but you still got to explore their characters, and I still thought that was really good. I really want both of them now.
No, they're really, like I said, that's a testament to the wealth of writing. They are very well written, and they do get to shine a little bit. It's unfortunate that I think in the story they have kind of the I don't even know what I'd call their role, but their roles are usually to tell you not to do stuff, basically. Or they I don't feel they contribute to the narrative for a while. But they help out in fights, and they're still, especially Kirky, are very chatty at least. So they're a good to have around for characterization. And then when you actually get to use them as support, they're pretty decent.
Kirky is literally your hacker man who sits back at base and types furiously to do stuff, and then tells you over the radio, "I'm in."
Yeah,
but
also she's your slightly wind up aunt. Who's been through some bad breakups, and she's just like, what are you even talking about?
You see, and here's the thing about Kirky. Like I said, I like her design and everything, but when I actually saw her personality, it's like, Kirky, you're acting a lot younger than I thought you would.
Well, yeah, I think she's putting on points, because she doesn't want you to treat her like a kid. She talks about that with the... Did you call her Hestia?
No, I did not.
Oh, you should have, because she gets real mad, and she's like, who are you calling a virgin goddess? I like... She's got the reverse, she's not quite Lollibaba, but she does have a slim, youthful look to her.
She's wearing, 6-inch heels.
Yeah, so she's got kind of the age complex of, I need you to treat me like I'm an adult.
I'm sorry, but I just, think of, this is the woman who seduced fucking, Odysseus and, kept him on her island for, 2 years?
Well, it's more than his boat wrecked and she turned all his dudes into animals, so what the fuck could he do?
I don't know, maybe not sleep with the girl who, turned them all into fucking pigs? I don't know.
Yeah, well. Kirky's one of those up on there in the list of not great people. Because they, even with her animations and some of her lines of dialogue, they reference the fact that she probably turned Scylla into a monster. There's a legend of her turning a king into a woodpecker for refusing her advances. She literally tries to poison you in prison so that she can knock you out and spirit you away, and then she's like, you wouldn't happen to be ridiculously resistant to poison, would you? And you're just like, smile, thumbs up.
It's like, well, you sat in my lap, so it's all okay.
Whatever. But yeah, so she's nice. And her dialogue's really funny. You know, her one command card where it's like, oh, you know, mole. And also, hey, holy shit, we'll talk about her mechanics later, but she's a single target buster caster. Oh, man, I can't tell you how good that was for support in this setting. Ooh. Especially with the half-strength gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's the thing that killed me most about, fighting Rom is being at half strength, but this guy clearly is not at half strength. I'm like, excuse you.
Yeah, and he also has a DOT, which completely ignores, because he doesn't do that much damage, especially if you got casters, but with his fucking curse and curse up, it's like, ow, that hurts. Stop that.
Stop.
I don't have that much HP to lose. Though, that's fun when finally Shiba and Kirky get together and are like, break the thing so you can actually go full strength in the final fight. That's fun. Like, that's another thing we talked about, like, when you get to that final moment where, like, that's a release, that's a catharsis. And as a concept, I like the half power, like our servants are tuned down so they can't be too flashy. Not that it matters, because, like I said, the story didn't want them to be flashy anyway, but, like, I felt like we didn't talk about the fact that they can't be too flashy enough, like...
Well, it says they semi-incarnated, so they were, like, more human than servant at this point.
Yeah, and
they were made
like
to fit the narrative.
But, like, we didn't necessarily address, like, so does that mean Robin can't just use his no-face-making NP to turn invisible? Or what?
I mean,
like,
I don't think he actually ever did use it.
No, he didn't. Matahari can disguise herself, which by sprites anyway seems like by magic, so can she not do her? She references her NP line, you know, her eyes are the sun kind of thing, but...
No, if I remember correctly, she didn't actually do the disguise. I think they said that Kirky had to put the Medea disguise on her.
Did they? I'd have to double check the dialogue. But yeah, it's interesting. Kirky does some stuff, and Shiba does some stuff. And Shiba's great. She's funny. Where she, like, busts into the pillar, and she's been like, oh, it's been a little while since I punched a demon god.
What kind of price package do you want? I'm all like, not now!
She's like, what level of service do you want here? I can, I'll clear your intelligence debuff and I can make sure nothing you do will be sacrilege. And you're like, okay. Like, and then the first time you pay for services, you're like, put it on Caldea's bill? She's like, okay. I like Shiba a lot. I have 15 tickets ready for that banner.
Yeah. I'm gonna say right now, like, before this, I really wasn't super sold on Queen of Sheba, but now, I really am.
No,
like,
she's so fun. And then watching her get flustered talking about Solomon/Romani.
I'm just like, oh, I like how her price was. All she wanted to do was hear about Romani as his time, like Solomon as his time from a human, and it's just like, oh, and you're so precious.
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to double check the like some of her other dialogue, but like I know some people obviously ship them, but also I could see that you could just be like, she just would be like, because when you do the play, for instance, you know, she seems like she's really interested in trying to stump him. Is it just she wants to know what he was like as a normal dude because she's curious because he's a weirdo? Mm-hmm. They definitely did some. It sounds like they definitely did some technical work together because she has experience punching demon gods. Mm-hmm. So the pillars probably know who she is, and that would be funny. But she only appears as a heroic servant, basically to do Solomon a solid.
Well, yeah, the observational lens, like, she was literally summoned by her namesake, which was one of the things I'm trying to wrap my fucking head around.
Yeah, I think the lens was a catalyst to summon her, because Sheba is the name of it's the near future observation lens, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that, because I think Chaldeus is the map, so the lens is the thing that observes the map, basically, and that can be used to look into the past, present, and maybe the future to see weird shit going on. So it tried to see into the Salem singularity. It couldn't, so it figured out something was wrong, though, so it basically acted as a catalyst to summon Queen of Sheba inside it.
And and Kirky kind of came along with, because Da Vinci was doing some weird summoning experience?
Yeah, it sounds like Kirky got kind of chain summoned.
Yeah.
Because she's an appropriate fit, obviously, for the scenario, as a loose servant being. She likes to refer to herself as the Queen Witch.
I keep wanting to say Queen Bitch. I'm like, wouldn't it be off?
I feel like the joke is there. No, I think X, you're right. She definitely has that you know, Queen Bee of the high school kind of vibe to her. Though I find it really funny because she talks about her sister Pasiphae. I'm like, I really need to see Fate Pasiphae now, because it's going to be like just combine Kirky and Asterios' designs, like, because I got the impression from the way that Kirky talked about her being more beautiful and talented that she would be more mature looking than her sister, but also they're literally siblings. And also, I'm like, wait, does that mean Medea's, because Kirky's hair is pink, does that mean that Medea's dad has blue hair?
Oh, also, remember, Pasiphae, is only, Asterios' mother because she literally made a bull contraption.
Yes.
To, get things. So, I don't know, maybe writer? I don't know.
Well, Fate has Maeve, so they could go a little lewd, and if she has, like, a powered bull skeleton.
That'd be so weird. But no, we're already getting, like, people have already saying that the lost bot, that lost bot woman is Europa, who's already gonna get, like, stolen away by a fucking bull. Man, mythology really likes women and bulls.
It's a theme, because cows are very important. Also, technically, neither of those technically. Pasiphae is the queen of Minos, and that was not non-consensual. That was, well, I mean, I don't know, magic. But magic. She was bewitched to desire the bull and was like, yo, Daedalus, I'm gonna need some help for this. I need some toys.
Yeah, Europa, Zeus turned into the bull, and Europa got on his back, and he ran the fuck off.
Yeah, and he carried her off.
Yeah.
But Europa is interesting to Fate, because she's actually connected to Medea, because she also is said to possess the most powerful guardian familiar, the bronze man Telos.
Which, if you remember from one of Medea's interludes, she mentions that.
Yes, Medea actually, because he was going to fuck up the Argonauts, so Medea actually conspired to kill him. It's not exactly sure what she did in this setting, but basically, either she had the knowledge or she used her magic to stop him, and he had a single nail that was holding in all his blood, and she pulled it out. So he died. Just like any mortal would. But other than that, he was like an invincible bronze dude, so I'm pretty sure that means if it is Europa, she's gonna have like a giant robot NP. I hope. There's not enough giant robot references. Even though I used Mecha Liz a lot. But yeah, so the whole family tree thing with the Greek stuff is very interesting, and probably gonna get even more interesting when Lost Belt 5 actually comes out. Don't know when that is, though. There's like 4 days left in Christmas. In JP, I think I said that they would probably announce like a stream or something by now, but they haven't, as far as I know, so we will continue to see.
Okay, let's see. But, let's see here.
Is there anything else about the fights in Salem to talk about? Oh, do you want to talk about Nez as a character? Because she was added also.
Yeah, Neza. So, our first glimpse of Neza was way back when we did our Journey to the West event, and you only got to see her for like a few lines.
Yes. Actually, I believe that it's pointed out that her sprite in Salem and as a character are slightly redrawn from that. Like, she got touched up a little bit.
Oh, that's good. But, like I said, again, I like Neza. I do. I know some people have been put off by the way she speaks.
Yes, her way of speaking is very stilted, and it was stilted in the Japanese.
Yeah, but that doesn't really bug me so much, but I do find it weird that when you do her Noble Phantasm, all of a sudden she can talk real normal. I was like, huh. So I don't know, like
some of her lines she was able to say a little bit better, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's probably because it was too much of a pain and he has to have the actress read them out like that.
Yeah. But like I said, I like Nessa. I like her animations. Her animations are real
Nessa's
good.
got beautifully animated with her fucking NP animation is just a nuke. I'm like, I couldn't just do this in Salem somewhere. I feel kind of bad for Robin. Like, he's helpful in the end, but he
Robin
gets to do nothing.
Also, he was channeling that high levels of I'm a fucking dick energy.
Well, yeah, I felt like he should have. He's Robin Hood. He should have been able to do more about this situation, but he's just kind of like, he is helpful. He does tracking. He does a lot of investigating.
Mm-hmm.
His pragmatism is helpful at points, but by the time we're willing to actually listen to him about anything, it's too late, and it's like, we can't do anything. It's like, fuck it. And while he's harsh to Sanson, I do think I know for a fact a lot of members of the community are going to agree with him that you know, Sanson kind of bouncing out on you was kind of like weak of him.
Yes, I won't disagree with that, but that wasn't the only time that Robin Hood had been completely hard on him entire. Like when they first like that's how the fucking Singularity is Sanson running into Robin Hood. Robin Hood is like, what the fuck, Noble? Why are you in my space? And Sansa's just like, I'm not a noble. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's just they have conflicting. Because Robin is... Well, I think he's listed as neutral good, but fundamentally you think of Robin Hood as a chaotic good kind of character, whereas I'm reasonably sure Sansa is lawful evil.
Probably, yeah.
Because he kills people.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I appreciate they didn't try to introduce the guillotine to this scenario, but on the other hand, I do feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity that we don't reference Sansa's abilities. He does get to use his sword explicitly.
Yeah, well, as I said, they had to do those really creepy shots on the fucking gallows.
Yes, the unskippable, way too detailed animations.
Like, there are 3D gallows in here, and someone just got hung. Great.
Yes.
I'm
the
slightly
whole,
uncomfortable.
like I said, the whole, the myth arc of it, the whole 7 knots, 7 days, 7 spells kind of thing, that was really well handled. It's just, like we said before, the middle bit was a little long and frustrating, and even if that was intentional, that's not always a good read. Like, I think Salem in the US is in a really bad place because it's coming out alongside the Babylonia anime, which reminds people of Babylonia as a story, and like, okay, it's not necessarily fair dealing to compare an EOR to Nasu personally writing one of the biggest and most important singularities of FGO, right? That's not a one-to-one comparison. But man, Babylonia really does that whole creeping dread, the situation is hopeless, very, very well. Like, I never felt frustrated by stuff in Babylonia because even though we kept failing and it didn't seem like we were doing anything, we were still trying a lot of stuff, you know? We were proactive the whole time. We have talked for like 50 minutes, I think, about Salem.
Yeah, well, we're getting all our thoughts out now.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So
Nessa was good. I appreciate that Nessa likes kids. Like, it actually gave her depth as a character.
I honestly, like, here's one of the scenes that really wasn't needed in the story, but it still amused me nonetheless. The first time you run into the sailors.
Yeah.
And Nessa's just like, yeah, he called me a prostitute. I was okay with that. And I'm just like, what? Then I sat on his lap. I was okay with this too. What?
Well, the very first thing is touched to me about the waist. And like, whatever, doesn't matter. Like, okay.
But then said my body was too small, and she was like, oh, now I'm about to kill this fucker. I'm all like, Nessa, you go from 0 to 100 real quick, don't you?
Well, yeah, so that's because Nessa was given... So in... I think it's tangential to Journey to the West? Or it might be a different myth, but Prince Nezha is like...
Well, Prince Nezha is in A Journey to the West, but I think that's because...
Yeah, I don't know where this part of the legend is, but Prince Nezha was, like, created out of, like, a lotus blossom or something and given to some people, and it was a he, and he was super cool and awesome, and so they didn't like him and he died, and his body got cut up and destroyed, and the Buddha came down and was like, yo, some shit happened in your life, we're gonna give you a second chance. And then that's why Nezha now, as a servant, is female. This is basically Nezha's theoretical second life reincarnation, so yes, her body is a direct give by the Buddha and another deity, so she's very sensitive about that.
I do like it. The first thing you can say when you busted in the scene is, all right, let's mop the floor with them. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Punch now, ask questions later. And
there's a lot of ratty pirates here. I guess we have to beat them up, and then you don't actually beat up pirates. That would have been a really obvious time to do a combat node.
Yeah.
But no, punch more ghouls.
Well, no, that's when you went into store. Wait,
no, that's later. That's the second or third time is when they're like, we need to calm these guys down. Kirky, tell a story. And she's like, all right, I'll improv something.
Let me tell you the time a Medea Lily came to my island.
Punch wyverns. They had to slip it in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, I enjoy Nezha, you know, how she, like, bonds with, like, Abby.
Mm-hmm. Nezha also is really good with her evil sense. You can even say that, man, it's really great having an evil detecting radar.
But, as I said, like, I'm glad, I'm always glad when they have chances to explore characters' personality that when they're not in some weird twisted form. I do find it a little weird though that they put Nezha in from the get go, like she was already at Chaldea. Like,
right, like okay, so you were summoned somewhere in the ambiguous time after our saving humanity from incineration, so cool. You're new. I'm like, okay,
yeah, but like
Kirky and Sheba are just introduced by this, and it's like, okay.
I find that weird because that's kind of at odds of what they say happens at the end of Solomon, where basically say that all the servants leave except the ones who are really, really, really attached to you.
Yeah, I think the idea is when we start EOR, we start summoning again. because there's a new mystery to solve, but it's not clear. I think it's just they wanted to finally include Nessa, and obviously the author was working with him, but they didn't want to, unlike Kirky, who is also permanent and now can just show up at any time, even if you haven't done. And I don't know why they bother hiding her name. Like, Sheba, I get, because she's pretending to be somebody, even though they immediately reveal it through the play.
Yeah, like that's something that killed me. It's all like, all right, like even if I had not known who Queen of Sheba was, seeing Tituba's sprite, I've been all like, that's somebody.
Something's going on here. But you could still preserve the mystery, but then they're like, and now we present a play about the Queen of Sheba, and Solomon, the guy we know, is in shadow, but Sheba is just, this is literally just Tituba's spite, but with Jekyll ears or whatever.
Twitchy, petable ears.
Yeah, careful, she'll charge you for that.
I'll pay for that.
It's like an arcade machine, feeder quarters. She even has a little Yenai sprite.
I know, I was about to mention that. I'm like, I think
they do a really weird job of the whole preserving the mystery. Like, Kirky is really like, she's a permanent servant, and she's like, once she comes out as herself, because you don't see her, she pretends to be Medea for a while. Once she comes out as herself, it's revealed pretty quickly, so I'm like, I don't know why they really wanted to bother. I don't know, I guess they just really liked the true name mechanic and wanted to make sure it was in every EOR.
And like, honestly, I wouldn't have known who she, like, again, this is me being spoiled by future knowledge, but I probably wouldn't have guessed Kirky unless I had known. Like, the biggest clue you would have got is when Medea got excited about sailors.
Yeah, and when you see her, parts of her design aspect are like, she's got the same staff that Medea does. When you actually see her animations, a lot of her design and look, like, Medea's, like, open cloak laser beam animation is clearly drawn from, well, I mean, it's retroactive, but they've designed it in such a way that you can tell she clearly picked that up from Kirke.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff.
Flying cape lasers.
Yeah, but Kirke actually has bird wings, which is interesting. I think that's got to do with her name etymology. By the way, there's loads and loads of classical art of Kirke. She's got a lot of themes about her. You should look her up sometime. I'm going to give you a fair warning, though, for not safe for work, because much like Cleo, man, those European artists really like to draw Kirke with her tits out. Like, several of them are full-blown just, yeah, she's just hanging out on her island naked. Why wouldn't she be? There's only animals here. And I'm like, you're not wrong. But
also, you're horny on Maine. Don't even lie. Don't even lie.
Very much horny on Maine. Like, I remember there's this one classical art, I think Camper called it out, just like, so the step on me fetish has existed for a long time, because it's just, there's just an old guy, and she's got her foot on his head, while, like, Odysseus comes in, and I'm like, why though? I don't think that's how that happened in the Odyssey. I'm pretty sure they were all turned into animals before then. I don't know. And they reference that. They bring the boar piglets back. Kind of. They bring their sprites back. And Kirky doesn't tell Medea at all, but you get it, because you know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of fun. Like I said, I can't hate the plays, because they do a lot of really interesting work for character building. Like I said, the Sean one is just, that came out of nowhere. That's just hilarious. But
like, I know you mentioned,
there's such weird padding in Salem.
Like, I remember being, like, super confused. Like, there's gonna be a lot of John fights? I'm like, why? And then I get to the play, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mentioned that, because I mentioned in the bullet point, there will be plays put on where there will be characters pretending to be other characters. And then I was like, so I don't want to give the context, but watch out, there's gonna be some fight with the three little Johns. Just like, oh my god. Ugh. It's so weird. I don't know, maybe that was in there just to be a tone shift, because you go from that to the first time Hopkins is an asshole to you.
Yeah. And then after that play, I guess what? He's an asshole again. Like honestly, the Three Little Johns was actually a great tension break for me.
Yes.
Because, as I said, like, this is when you're, like, really just starting to build up into Salem, and you might not have...
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie.
Like, Hopkins has just showed up, and you clearly can tell he's shifty. And I think, is this the point where Sanson... That was the other thing that really did me out about Hopkins, is I know that in the setting he has authority, but we, as characters, I feel like we don't treat him like an outsider, and we should, because Sanson is able to remember and straight up tell us, yo, that dude should be dead. He's been dead for like 40 years. But, yeah, when you first see him, you're like, he's sus. Have you seen that beard?
I think
he's sus.
I think that might have been, again, I feel like this might be a cop-out of an excuse, but that was the fucking cognitive interference.
Yeah, I guess. It's like, they don't ever, that's I think the problem with the cognitive interference is we never really figure out what it does and does not stop.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's why I feel like it's a cop-out excuse. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, this would fit under it.
They try, like I said, they don't... Salem has problems, I think, like I said, where it missed in editing, where they could have done some polish on this. They maybe could have refined those concepts, and just the writer didn't have time, which is a shame, because like we said, they did some really good writing for some of these characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's... On the one hand, like Matahari's execution is like... First of all, that's an example of characters actually do stuff. Both Matahari's abilities and Kirky's abilities come into play. And that's got a real sense of tension and dread, but also there's so much where you're like, I want to do something about this, and Kirky's just like, don't do anything, just trust me. And I'm like, okay, Kirky, I trust you because that's the nature of the narrative, but strictly speaking, nothing in the story has actually given reason for me to trust you. And also, like, I talked about this earlier, I should mention this, I felt kind of, the whole MASH disappearing thing felt like that was like a really cheap drama shot, because I was like, dude, I already played Time Temple, that you can't get me like that again. You already shot that shot. I know she's fine.
Well, yeah, I knew that. I didn't know like that, but like, believe it or not, it was that scene that made me zero in on fucking Carter as the fucking main villain.
Yes, that's when you start to realize Carter is sus.
Yeah, because
and then especially once he comes back, then you're like, so did you get fucking body snatchered while you were gone, or you were always a problem?
Yeah. Because, like, if you guys don't remember, no one's supposed to be able to fucking leave, so my thought was, how did fucking Carter leave? Excuse you.
Didn't. Rom stepped off the stage and came back with some extras. Some literal spear carriers. There are so many people who are literally, like I said, let's say I said earlier, the plays are a metaphor. The thing really is a metaphor for a play. It's just much like with Agartha, I feel like they didn't lean into that hard enough. Because there are so many characters who are just spear carriers. They exist only to, like those constables, they only exist to stand on stage and like block out scenes and yell stuff occasionally.
Also, something weird, like Mephi just popping in for like literally a moonlight talk.
That was interesting. I liked he actually I think it was cool because he gives you some fucking clarity for once, because it's like,
yeah,
oh, this is a hellscape. I've showed up just because those are really easy to get into, and you're like, I guess you're not wrong. So, are you the demon pillar? No, I'm just here, and I'm like, so what should we do about this? And he's like, I don't know. It's just real fucked up here.
Well, he does he gives you some exposition about, outer gods and stuff, which
yes,
I was like, God damn it! Out of all the stuff we've been through, it's the fucking crazy ass bomb demon who decided to pop over for a visit who gives me some fucking clarity. I'm like, Mephi, you do.
Well, I think that's the point, though, right? It's like Alice in Wonderland. I'm afraid we're all quite mad down here. That was another thing that was weird. Like, I felt like the point of the cognitive interference field was to drive everybody crazy, but also they were ghouls already.
Well, I don't think they all. Well, here's the thing. I don't think they all started as ghouls.
I guess that's true. We don't really know how many of them were ghouls the whole time. It's just once we get to the climax, you're like, oh no, everybody's been ghouls, and you're like, fuck.
I think because I think that's like every iteration, more people die, but Rom's just like, nope, keep acting your parts.
Well, and also they die, but they don't get to move on. Because remember the subtitles for the ghouls, they're like envious ghoul, gluttonous ghoul. The people who become ghouls were souls Rom invited there to play the parts because they were searching for salvation or redemption, but obviously because of the way Salem is set up, it's an anti-Eden. It's a place not to solve any problems. They don't get the resolution they need, so they just keep coming back. They keep hungering for salvation, and so they can't let go and move on.
I'm gonna tell you right now, the Elder Ghoul was creepy.
Those guys are real creepy, and the fucking sound effects.
Yeah, it was the sound effects.
The Shantax were pretty baller. Those are Shantak birds. They're from the Dreamlands.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quote actually from the Dream of the Unknown Kadath. I should probably scroll up and find it. That's cool. I've got a couple things to read somewhere in here, but let's see. There's some big ring stuff people talk about. This was last night. I said this before I went to bed.
Let's see what other people are talking about real quick.
Okay, so this is a quote from the Dream Crest of Unknown Kadath by H.P. Lovecraft. They were not any birds or bats known elsewhere on Earth or in Dreamland, for they were larger than elephants and had heads like a horse's. Carter knew they must be the Shantak birds of ill rumor, and wondered no more what evil guardians and nameless sentinels made men avoid the boreal rock desert. So yeah, they're giant freaky bird things in the Dreamlands, and they supposedly serve Nyarlathotep, but I don't know, they were mentioned in the Dream Quest to Unknown Kadath with where Randolph Carter is from first, so they get to show up.
Oh god, I still can't pronounce Nyarlathotep.
I have a song
I can't.
about that, but I don't. It's again real music.
We're not getting into that until next summer.
So yeah, that's the Salems.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. If
Covered
there's
the mechanics. I think we covered all the major characters. Covered the plot.
Yeah.
I will agree. Where the fuck is my Lavinia servant? She's great.
Yeah.
Give me like a lot of people were like, oh man, we talking about Jason got alluded to a lot, and he was out of phase for like 2 or 3 years before he came back. I'm like, so make Lavinia a bronze foreigner? You could also just make her a bronze caster. Like really.
I'm about to say, make her. I feel like a bronze caster would be more on point.
It's a major Vesper phrasing moment. Vesper just yelled out in spoiler, how many times do I have to unbirth you before you learn your lesson?
Oh my. What's he playing? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's fighting one of the final fights of Salem because you mentioned Abigail.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah, which, like I said earlier, that mechanic was cool. She doesn't guts, like, it literally rewinds time. Also, the sprite work in Salem, pretty good. I loved how the church got even more weird and cosmic as you went on.
Yeah, like more keyholes opening. So it's like, whoa!
But yeah, okay, so I think we covered all the points of Salem. And we'll just have to see if Abigail shows up when her banner starts, which should be in a few days from now.
My wallet cries already.
My wallet can't cry yet. I got something more important on the horizon. I'll find out about that on the 12th. I'm sure.
For sure.
Okay, let's see. Let me check the clock. We've been going for about an hour and a half.
Nice.
That's pretty typical when we do a big, long talk about a chapter. Well, let's talk about some new 4-star servants really quick, and then we'll talk about Babylonia. We can probably talk about Babylonia briefly, because I feel like the last time we talked about Babylonia, we explained most of what this episode would be.
We pretty much fucking called it.
Yeah, okay, so let's move into, so you didn't get that 5-star. Let's talk about these new 4-star servants. So first up, Prince Nezha is a new SR Lancer. Fairly middle-of-the-road HP attack, typical Lancer deck. That's quick, arts, buster. Her NP gen, though, is decent, combined with hit counts because of the deck. Only 1 arts card, but it's in the higher element, and those 2 quick cards still count, obviously. Has a fairly standard cookie-cutter AoE buster NP. She does a self-NP buff for 1 turn, and then burns enemies a little bit at the end. Pretty standard for a wave clear. So first skill is a dual quick buster up for 3 turns, and also a crit up. I believe that's... Let me double check. Is that 20% on both or 30%? I like to let people know percentages sometimes.
Numbers are cool.
The second skill is Spirit Pearl. That's a fairly decent guts, with 5 turns on that guts. So you can pop it a little bit in advance, which is good because it's also an up to 20% NP battery. Yeah, so it's 20% buster, 20% quick, and 30% critical at the max level 5-turn cooldown. And you can do Spirit Pearl to do up to 20% NP. Cooldown's a little long on an NP battery if it's only 20%, but you do get a 2k guts that lasts for, like I said, 5 turns. And then Protection of Tathagata is a self-debuff clear. Everybody loves that. And it also increases her star weight for 1 turn up to 500%, which is pretty decent. Lancers are middle of the road as far as star weight goes. But that's a self-debuff clear every 5 turns at max level. That's pretty handy. I gotta tell you, I really miss debuff clears. If there's one thing I want to say about mechanics is I really hope soon that they stop giving story support only 2 skills. Because, Lucky, I don't know if you know this, but Kirky's 3rd skill is a team debuff clear. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That would be really handy to have her as a story support.
I'm sorry, Lucky is pleased at the fact that I was able to fit Queen of Sheba's ears, chest, and stomach into the sprite art. I'm like, yes, these are all the important parts.
Good job. Okay, and then Nezha's only passive is Magic Resistance A, so that's pretty decent. Nezha's pretty straightforward. If you don't have any other AoE Lancers, or you just want one that's a bit more laser-focused on the damage, she's pretty good. She'll capitalize on the Lancer-style deck with that Quick End Arts. Quick End Buster. Has a decent self-support functions, but it's not really flashy. Not quite solo level, but still, you can do NPBB for follow-ups, you can do quick turns to capitalize on generating stars, you can put all the stars on her with her star weight. Fits into some decent team comps. Not a game breaker, but not awful either. And then Caster of Okeanos, aka Kirky, because there's no real hiding it, seriously. She is a new permanent SR caster with an ST Buster NP. This means that, quite frankly, she is a godsend when it comes to fighting bosses, which casters are used for, whether that's, you want to fight some assassins or just whatever. It's just, oh my like, Medea's great, but her NP being art central and her not really having any kind of damage enhancers, and being 3 stars is really lowering, and it can be, speaking to someone who still doesn't have a Sanzo, not that I have a Kirky either, but I didn't go that hard on her banner, but, like, it's so good to use her as story support. So, her NP reduces the enemy's critical rate, and has a chance to do a special pig stun for 1 turn. I believe the rule with the pig is it can only be humanoid enemies, so servants and certain enemies can do it, but some others can't, but it's basically a special kind of stun that some enemies are immune to.
I turned several things into pig, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's, like I said, it's not universal, but it's pretty decent spread as far as enemies go. And you'll probably be using her a lot on bosses, so it's fair. Other than that, she's a usual caster, quick arts buster deck. Does fairly well on the attack skill for casters, you know. Now that casters are great at raw attack strength, but she's not the worst at it. She's pretty balanced out. Her NP gain is a little low. It's like 0.39, but she does have 3 hit arts cards, so, and she has territory creation, so they're not the worst. You'll probably be getting a lot of arts chains out of her. And, it doesn't really matter because her first skill is Rapid Divine Words. So that's a 60 to 120% NP battery, so that basically means once you start getting it leveled, she will always be able to pop an NP whenever you feel like it. I think it's literally the same level as Medea's, or possibly one lower. It's over 100% at maximum. It's just, I would like to NP now. Boom, I can do it. Her second skill is Poisoned Meal. This is an AoE poison and defense down. The poison's not huge. It's like 1,000 at the max level for 3 turns. But it's got a 5-turn cooldown, and it's a decent defense down, so solid for, like, rounding out your enemies and weakening them. And her final skill, which is Sailing Advice, it removes all allies' debuffs. I mentioned that earlier. That's great. And it also is a team star general buff for 3 turns. It's not as good as Kazgil's buff, which is 50 to 100%. Kirky's is 30 to 50%. But she has one lower cooldown and debuff clear, so it's pretty effective. You could easily run them back to back. And I don't know, I guess Rhyme? Because Rhyme wants stars? I don't really know who the crit caster is other than Rhyme and I guess Sheba, but we'll talk more about her probably next week. Though obviously, hey, if you guys want to, you could just roll on story right now if you beat Salem. Well, I mean, some people swear by it. If you've gotten her, let me know, audience. And then for passives, so she has Territory Creation B, which improves her arts effectiveness, and Item Creation A, which really improves her debuff success rate. It's like 10% extra. So, yeah, Kirky is great inclusion for those of you who have missed offensive SSR casters or just need more single-target workers in general. You can never go wrong with some extra single-target hitters, and she's pretty decent at her job. She'll let the rest of your team do stuff. You know, she can debuff multiple enemies, and she's got that, like I said, that Buster NP plus that Rapid Divine Words is just, for casters, that's just so good. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've just gone, using her as story support, I was just like, yes, I would really like to NP this guy right now. Whoop. Yeah. So she's good. I think then the only thing we've really got to talk about then is Babylonia's. Which is pretty much exactly what we thought it would be last week. So we start in the throne room, everybody's real sad. But Gil's like, well, we can be sad, but also we need to move on. We're going to do some stuff. And everybody's like, oh, we're doing stuff? And he's like, yeah. So we get some exposition about Gorgon. This was actually interesting to me because normally, I believe, from what I understood reading her backstory and seeing stuff in like FGO, when we talk about Medusa, we don't talk about Athena a lot.
Nope.
Like, usually I think the original excuse in Fate Stay Night was that they moved to the Shapeless Isle because Medusa was the only one who would actually grow old, and thus she had to constantly fight people who were coming to steal her sisters. Now, it's entirely possible that that's the true facts, and then what Romani recites is just the legend as we understand it. But yes, it retells some of her classical legend that Medusa specifically angered Athena and was cursed, and so they retreated to the Shapeless Isle, where Medusa killed lots and lots of dudes until eventually she devours her sisters and becomes Gorgon.
Yeah. Ugh.
Which, and then Gil has the kind of like, so she came back as a goddess of vengeance. There's a lot of the word goddess is thrown around in this episode.
Yeah. Well, we're in the second act, so
it's
of course.
Ishtar uses it like twice in a sentence a couple of times. But yeah, so we exposit about Gorgon, and it's like, and then they mention Tiamat's authority of demonic beasts, the Pontia Theron, and then it's like, that must come from her being gifted the Holy Grail, so it's like, okay, we got that, we follow that. And Gil is basically like, okay, so we gotta leave her for last, she's the strongest, but thanks to you, you've told me that there's disagreement among them, so you should laugh, that's very amusing, they're fighting amongst themselves. So, what I'm gonna need you to do is we're gonna stop them. So we don't know much about the jungle goddess yet. We'll get there in a second. But first, I'm gonna need you. He says something very, very interesting. Do you remember if this was in the original script where he's like, Fujimaru, I need you to be my hero?
I do not believe he says that.
No, but that's a very punchy, dramatic way to say it. And then I believe that's the OP. And then when we come back, it's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, okay, we got to recruit Ishtar. And Siduri is like, sir, we can't fight Ishtar. She's still our patron goddess. I won't allow it. And he's like, Siduri, don't be... He's a little bit more casual about it. He's like, Siduri, don't be dumb, okay? We're not gonna fight her. We're gonna recruit her. Here, open up my huge... I'm gonna... he opens up a gate of Babylon and is like, we're gonna get her on our side. Don't worry about it. Then we smash cut to the woods. Oh, though I should mention, there was a little bit of flash forward. Anna comes back.
Yep.
She wakes up in a ruin somewhere in the middle of nowhere and walks back to town. And Foe's... I guess Foe left her? That's not really clear. Because Foe's back with us.
Foe does what he wants.
Yeah, but so there's a little bit of reunion, and that's cool. But so we're all wandering through the thing. We're talking about stuff. We get some decent... I think we get some exposition about the goddesses and the plan and stuff. And we get some exposition about Mount Ibe. Ebizan, as they call it. Zan is mountain, in case you don't know. Or one of the words for mountain. So then we just stumble onto her temple, which has the really gaudy Lucky Cats thing. I believe that was alluded to it was not shown in like a CG, but it was alluded to that her temple had like really obvious signs in the actual Babylonia.
The Babylonian Singularity did have a fucking sprite for the temple. Because I remember, I think the Lucky Cats were on it.
Okay, then they might have done that.
They might have.
But yeah, so, and then there's some really funny, like, I guess this is the place. So they talk about what they're going to do, because we obviously know the plan because we played it, but the plan hasn't been explicitly spoken of yet. Ishtar shoots some Gondars out of her front door, blows some shit up. We fight her for a little bit as she taunts people. She actually uses the mana to shoot some beams. That's pretty cool. Though, I gotta say, well, it's not bad. I definitely feel like they were letting the animators relax after last week, because the animation in this fight isn't as smooth as some of the other fights. Not that it has to be, it's just very obviously this is a little bit more...
Well, to be fair, like, not all the animations in the last episode was completely smooth. They just had a lot going on at once. Just like,
but they had a lot of obvious... The animators were obviously busting out a lot of work there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe...
Well, as I said, they're trying to have, like, I still think they're trying to keep to their, one badass fight scene an episode.
Yes, they want to do one action scene an episode, but in this one, they clearly, like, they didn't feel the need to go super high detail. There's just a little bit of back and forth. There's a couple of touches, but you don't really need to, because ultimately, after a little bit of back and forth, Fujimaru runs forward and then throws the bag of gems up in the air. And
he's like, oh no, I tripped!
Yeah, that comes after, but I love that, where he's like, oh no, I was going to give an offering to the goddess Ishtar, and I've fallen. They have gone everywhere. How could this be? But no, then we flash back to, like, Gilgamesh. He's like, yo, okay, what Ishtar loves most is gems, right? Well, we should say there's a little bit of banter before she gets into the proper fight, where she's like, listen, I'm a goddess, so I can't relate to you humans and stuff, so don't even bother.
Don't even.
Why are you even... Who gave you permission to be on my mountain in the first place? So, Ishtar's being a little bit snotty before this, but then Gil is like, yo, okay, here's the plan. Ishtar loves gems. They're her favorite thing. But she doesn't have golden rule, which I think was a really funny reference. So she's got terrible luck getting gems on her own. Now, normally she gets gems as an offering, but because the people are really goofed up right now, she can't get offerings. So what you're going to do is we're going to buy her. I'm going to give you some upfront cash, a little pocket money, and I'm going to authorize you to make a deal for 30% of the gems in Babylon's treasury. And, I'm gonna go need you to buy me a goddess, which is a great way to phrase it. That's such a Gil thing.
Yeah, he says that in the actual story, fuck, I don't know what I should call it. The actual story, I guess.
Yeah, the Singularity script.
Actual script. There you go. Original script. Boom.
Yeah, it's a good one. And then basically we just, as predicted, we spend about 5 minutes blowing Ishtar's mind with all these gems, and she's just like wobbly eyes, clutching her head. There's a lot of references to old Rin, various ways Rin has been animated in the past, as she just floats there and wiggles around. And then we're like, oh, I guess she's not accepting. We'll have to take the cart back. And she's like, nope, okay, fine. We'll do it. We'll make a temporary contract for all the gems. That's fine. It's too good to be true, but it's too good to pass up. And I don't know if in a reading form it felt like this. I felt like they lingered on the point a little bit longer than they needed to, but whatever. It's not a big deal. Ishtar's adorable when frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So they invite her in, they ask her some questions. This was an actual conversation that happened in the script, where Romani is like, yo, so Ishtar, we gotta talk. You're a pseudo-servant, right? What happened to the person's body you are? And they explain it, which is good that they finally get to explain it.
I do enjoy that Ishtar immediately was all like, why the fuck you trying to take the high ground?
Well, yeah, and she's like, Mash is a demi-servant, isn't she? And you're calling me unethical? And Romani's like, listen, my mistake is different from, what you're doing. That's why I have to ask, because this concerns me too. And she's like, okay, I like your answer. I respect you a little bit more. I thought this was I wonder if this must have been how it was in the original Japanese script, where Ishtar says no in English very clearly. That was interesting. Because she's like, so if you're like, she basically says, if you're asking me if I killed this girl, no. But if you're asking me if she could wake up, that's also no. And she explains the whole thing where, like, they're fused. They are one being now. And this is still confusing the way they choose to phrase it, but basically she says, we're about 70-30, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, I'm in front and she's in back. We're still one person. It's just the me I am now is, like, 70% Ishtar, 30% her.
Well, I'd like the way I best understood it is like literally Rin wakes up one day and she's a fucking goddess.
Yeah, basically, she says that this girl just realized one day she was Ishtar, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the way I best understood it.
But yeah, it's when she deliberately calls out the percentages, though, that sometimes that gets a little confusing. But it's like, the way Ishtar says it is that it's not necessarily like she is more one person than the other. They are just Ishtar together.
Yeah.
So we have that little conversation, then we leave. We form a temporary contract. That did remind me, though, of something I did think was cool in Salem. I forgot to mention that we say the lines when we temporarily contract with Kirky.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. That doesn't get referenced a lot. So apparently you still do that in Chaldea. You say the whole speech from Fate's Day Night.
Yep.
Let's see. So Babylonia, I think...
But Ishtar wants you to seal the contract with a kiss to her foot, and Mash is all like,
that's
no.
Right, yeah. This is the first canonical instance of Mash blocking.
Mash blocking?
Where she's just like, whoa. That's not allowed. That's not in the manual. Which makes perfect sense, because in episode 0 they talk about how pure and normal Mash is, that's the whole point of her.
Mash is not here to entertain your kinks/fetishes.
She's just like, whoa, I'm just a perfectly normal person, senpai. But yeah, so then after we do that, and then that's when we talk to Ishtar, we leave. There's a little bit of talk as the sun is setting about, like, hey Ishtar, you're gonna be okay, we're gonna camp on a ruin tonight. And she's like, whatever.
We get a great shot of Ishtar hips. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she talks about how she's kind of a brat and a troublemaker. I would slip out all the time from my dad's place in heaven and just chill out. And you're like, oh, okay. She's a cool, casual goddess of war, which is one of the lines she drops earlier. But then we get to the first conversation, which is the capstone, where Ishtar comes to sit next to Fujibaru. Oh, they animated this so perfectly.
The only thing that really bugs me about it is that the sneeze was only a glimpse and wasn't a full-on transformation like they kind of do in...
I expect that will be in later scenes. They'll get more obvious with it.
Yeah.
They're still trying to be a little bit subtle because that's how Babylonia is. It's like, you can tell something's up, but also it's not... They wait a couple of conversations for it to be perfectly clear. But yeah, her eye color is slightly different, though, in this, so you can tell.
Yeah, I actually did look for that and notice it this time.
But yeah, so quote-unquote Ishtar sits down next to him, and it's very funny because she, like, sits down far away and scoots closer. And they have a conversation about what's going on, and, you know, the nature of things. She talks about the three goddesses, and, like, she's really questioning Fujiwara about what his plan is, because she's like, listen, there's no way you can't argue with the goddess of demonic beast. She's just mad. So you're gonna have to fight her, I guess. I don't know how you're gonna do that. I don't know much about the third goddess of the jungle. What she thinks is good or evil is different from me, which I thought was a very good subtle nod, because that comes out later. Because technically, Ketz is a good goddess. It's just she's also herself. And then she's like, and then the third goddess is me, which is, I love the way they phrase that, because obviously it's Eresh talking, but it also allows the misconception that Ishtar is the third goddess, which she isn't. Mm-hmm. Oh, also, we skipped over the transition scene while we were flying is the first time we get the hint that she doesn't have the Bull of Heaven.
Oh, yeah.
We spill the beans that, like, oh, yes, we thought you would have the destructive power with your Bull of Heaven to fight Gorgon. That's why Gilgamesh suggested this, and she's like, oh, yes, of course, excuse me, I'm going to fly ahead now. Bye.
I'm decided I'm going to keep a diary. Rin out.
Fly away. So then, quote-unquote Ishtar, but really Eresh Kigal, describes herself, which is basically like, she's like, I don't hate humans, but I can't ever forgive you because you guys are always changing, always growing, and it's like, you exist in the age of gods right now, which means, you know, how does she say it? It's like, you can't escape your fate of dying or the pain of living, but here in the age of gods, you can blame some of that on us, because the gods are here, so you can just say the things you don't explain are caused by us, which is very true to history. Mm-hmm. But she talks about humans growing smarter all the time, learning things, and that eventually they'll basically outgrow gods and be on their own, which, in this scene, we have a beautiful shot of Eresh Kigal with her cages in the underworld as kind of illustration. Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, in case people out there didn't catch it, this is a major thematic element, because what is Beast 2 the beast of? It's just a little question I'll throw out to the audience. But yes, it's very thematically related to this conversation we're having. But then ultimately, it's just like, because what exactly? It kind of blurred together. I don't remember exactly what the trigger was for this part of the conversation, but like, Fujiwara like gets up or turns away from her for a second, and she's like, are you scared of me? You know, do you hate me because I'm a goddess? And he's just like,
oh, no. That's when, she did the sneeze, and she did the flash to Eresh Kigal, and Fujiwara was like, what?
He was surprised, but she doesn't understand what's going on, so it's like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. And then he's like, oh no, I would never hate you for that. It's, you know, it's perfectly normal. And then the sun comes up, and she goes in to go inside, and they kind of have an awkward moment, and she kind of transitions back, and it's like, good night or whatever.
Yep, and he says the title, which is Good Night Goddess.
Yes, Good Night Goddess of Venus.
Yep.
And I've understood from the previews for the next episode, we've already seen some choice Ketz previews, so we're just going to jump right into that.
Yep. As I said, I'm predicting 2 episodes of Ketz goodness.
That sounds about right, because we might have another cold open, but we'll probably open up the plot of the next episode with just, okay, we came back to Uruk. Oh shit, there's a crazy lady suplexing everybody at the front gate.
Yep.
And then she drops her challenge, and we have to immediately go leave. And then, yes, it'll probably be 2 episodes.
Yeah, because like again, I know I'm just repeating myself, but after that, we're gonna have another fight with Jaguar Man as we get her onto our side. We gotta visit the city where Ketz is hanging out and do some exposition about the people there. Then it'll be the actual Ketz fight and resolution. Yeah, that sounds about 2 episodes. I can't remember though. I think they originally want you to go to the city because they want you to pick up the axe of Marduk as well.
Yes, the axe is in Ketz's city.
Yeah,
is the thing. That's why we have to get her on our side, because she's the only one who can possibly. It's in her dominion, so we have to get control of the axe.
Yeah.
And that'll all be covered. And I think after those, I think you're right about the 2 episodes, because there'll be one this week and then one next week, and then I believe that the 21st and the 28th are the 2 recap episodes. So we'll take a break for the core, and then when we'll come back, it'll be Aresh's arc, and then it'll be Furthermore. I believe that's how it should break up. Don't die.
Ow. Sorry. Okay, so that's Babylonia for the week. As I said, I said, it's still good. Still looking forward to it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I have to say. Well, I guess this is just one of those things that I noticed, but they actually changed up the ending now that we're in the second act. Now they've added slides of Areshkigal and Ketz to their slideshow, which I think is cool. Like, again, I really like the ending, how it starts off with like artistic renditions of all the singularities, and then goes into just basically a character slideshow.
And
like
evolving credits and or openers are always just a great factor. I love when shows do that.
Yeah. So we're coming up on the second core here pretty soon, so I'm kind of curious to see what they're gonna do. Like I said, as one knows, is like I'm a sucker for a good opening and EP, and I really do like the opening of Babylonia. It's a lot of good animation and plays up a lot of things. So I'm kind of curious to see where they're gonna go with that and with the ending. Again, Babylonia anime OST win.
Yeah, they do some really interesting renditions, which I can't remember exactly what theme it is, but they play one of the themes when we're having the conversation with Aresh, which is like the exposition, not the happy one, but the exposition-y theme,
Yeah. Let's see here. As in, like he's just racking his brain over.
Yeah, I think we're basically in our wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard Matt typing.
Oh, I gotta sass somebody now.
Oh. Someone slapped that sass alarm.
Somebody's gotta have somebody gets a new nickname.
Oh. Who's being sassing? Who gets the sassing?
Well, so this is completely off topic, but apparently they've got another Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind trailer, and it's gonna be released in January. So Loth sassed Kyrie a little bit, so
Loth is a nice person, but goddamn, he's kind of mean. It's weird.
Sassy.
Oh yeah, so I was right. It was coming out January.
Yes, I knew it was somewhere in winter, but I was like, is it going to be before the end of the year or not? I don't know, but they have a confirmed release date on the trailer. We'll talk about that probably on What's Up next, because we can't talk about Death Stranding because I literally haven't played it all week since we recorded the last What's Up. I've been super hardcore on Salem. And other stuff, but mostly just playing through Salem all in a week. But, yes.
Let's see, I guess tomorrow I'll talk about how I've been getting back into Monster Hunter.
Thumbs up.
Ugh.
Okay. Yeah, my voice connection got a little sketchy there. But alright, I think we're fair up to wrap up in almost 2 hours.
Yep.
I'll wind this down. Still have no idea what I'm going to title it. Obviously, you, the audience, know, because I've made up one, but I'm like, I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
We've got a good thumbnail, at least. Alrighty, so we'll let you guys go. We'll see you next week for more Let's Talk FGO, where we'll probably... I don't know if it'll necessarily be a pre-game, but we'll do an event breakdown of Christmas, the next Christmas or anything. Obviously, I don't think we could have reasonably fit that in this episode anyway. It's already 2 hours. God, can you imagine?
We had some good thoughts on Salem, I feel.
Yes, the first 3 hour Let's Talk FGO. No, it's not. It's already a pain in the butt with What's Up. But, so yeah, we'll see you also later for What's Up, where we talk about other things. Keep an eye out for Wanted Abigail whenever they actually announce the banner, because I like to do it to coincide with the stuff. Be sure to check out that stream on the 12th. That'll just be on Aniplex USA's Twitch channel. And alright, well, let's do the outro. So, if you like this episode, and you're watching on YouTube, give it a like. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. And of course, you can get in touch with us on our Discord. That link is in the description, and on our channel page as always. If you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, so you can always get our latest videos. And even if you're already subscribed, considering that bell for notifications, so you can always find out when we post new videos. And of course, like I said at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really helps us out. And, yeah.
One last reminder, if anyone is curious about that Helena art being used in today's thumbnail, that is actually official art from Helena's artist Matsuroon, drawn as celebration for the release of Santa Helena.
Thumbs up. Okay, we out. And I want to leave you with a little something one of our community members wrote about the end of Salem, which I thought was pretty interesting and makes a good capstone here. I'm quoting from an image. A curtain closes, a gate opens, truth was released, and doubt was slain. For all that remains now is our innocence, or lack thereof it. Our hands be scarred by the bloodless ash of puppets, and now we stand here, watching an ocean under a clear sky, wondering, was there even a point to this whole chapter of our lives? And then if this was actual H.P. Lovecraft, the author would, like, jump off a cliff or something. Check out Storytime on our channel. Okay, now I'm really gone. Bye.